Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. On today's episode of me talking about 7 things, I'm going to be going over Season 19, Episode 3, Like, Subscribe, Survive. And before I continue, please check out the links in the description below. I highly recommend checking out the surveys that I made. You can only vote once, so feel free to share the link and advertise who you want voted for. And onto the episode, we are introduced to the 5 new survivalist / content creators, and we're given their social media handles through the episode as we see them filming themselves before insertion. And I think that Jenna's handle might have changed, at least for Instagram. I think it's Jenna_Ocean, but please do not quote me on that. I'm going off of comments I saw on Facebook. And for first of the series, the content creators will be provided phones that they can film and edit content on to be posted on their pages before the air date of their episode. And throughout the episode, we see some of the videos that they made during their time on the island. And the assumption is that the phones didn't have service, so the survivalists / content creators weren't able to contact anyone, go on social media, or Google anything. I don't think that they cheated, quote unquote, during their time on the episode. And with the whole phone charging thing, I assume production, when they left for the night, took the phones, charged them at night, and then brought them back in the morning. And then I believe production were also the ones who, at least while the challenge was happening, were the ones who posted the videos on the survivalist social media. And filming on their phones and content creating is probably a way to get more millennial and Gen Z fans to watch the show and help broaden the fan base. And then we are introduced to the survivalists. We have Beau, Dragonsky, Jenna, Pearson, and Perry. They are headed to an island in the Gulf of Thailand called Koh Boo Boo for their 14-day challenge. Beau is a content creator and climbing influencer with over 209,000 followers across Instagram and TikTok. His turning PSR is 6.3. Pearson is a content creator with over 1.4 million followers across social media. His current project is building a log cabin using old school methods of the past. His PSR is a 6.4. Then we see Dragonsky and Perry meet. Dragonsky is a hiker who has hiked over 5,000 miles, been through many elements and terrains, and has over 15,000 followers across social media. Perry makes instructional videos including living off the land and homesteading, and has over 1.3 million followers across social media. Pearson and Jenna meet, and after a brief intro, Beau joins them. Jenna makes content about spirituality and witches and has over 73,000 followers across social media. She also has a lot of ocean and water experience and runs a lifeguarding team. Each team is provided a pot and fire starter, and then we see that the groups have a fishing kit, spear, goggles, a bug net, and blade divvied up between the two groups. They also have their phones. Each group heads to their water source on opposite sides of the island, and neither team knows of each other. Jenna's starting PSR is a 6.2. Jenna, Pearson, and Beau find their water source and begin making their shelter, and Jenna manages to get a fire. And the team decides on building an A-frame shelter with an elevated platform, and Perry and Dragonsky find their water source, and we are told that Dragonsky's PSR is 5.9. Perry and Dragonsky work on an elevated lean-to shelter. They also have holes nearby that they notice that they believe could be made by rats or crabs. Perry's PSR is a 6.5. Perry and Dragonsky are unable to get fire the first day. Night 1, Pearson, Beau, and Jenna's platform breaks, and Dragonsky and Perry hear something walking under their shelter during the night. Day 2, and Perry and Dragonsky mention that there are rats in their camp. Perry works on the shelter, and Dragonsky works on fire. Perry finds some milky mangrove, which has a toxic sap that can make you go blind if it gets in your eyes. He luckily doesn't get any in his eye, and they steer clear from that. Jenna, Beau, and Pearson work on rebuilding their broken shelter. Pearson is taking the lead with the building project because he has a lot of experience with building. A storm begins rolling in and the rain begins to fall. Both teams hunker down. After the rain stops, Perry works on the roof of the shelter. Jenna, Pearson, and Beau complete the shelter rebuild, while Perry completes his team's shelter. That night, it is stormy again. Day 3, Dragonsky and Perry go looking for food. They eat some raw oysters since they don't have a fire yet, but they taste good, so that's good. Dragonsky mentions she appreciates Perry's support because the storm worried her a lot, and Dragon Sky works on drying out materials to help make a fire later on. Jenna goes out with the spear and goggles to go spear fishing. Beau and Pearson go fishing with the bug net, and Perry begins working on a water filtration system since the fire has not been made yet. Beau, Pearson, and Jenna dine on the fish that Pearson and Beau got with the mosquito net. And then that night, Perry and Dragon Sky have rats crawl under their shelter and onto them, and it's very dramatic because they're fast asleep, and then a rat is crawling on Perry, and then it jumps over to Dragon Sky, it wakes them both up, and they're very worried because that would be a very terrifying thing to have a rat crawling on you during the middle of the night. And the rats get scared off after the two wake up. Day 4, and Perry makes a figure 4 trap to try and get the rat. And with the heat, Beau, Jenna, and Pearson stay close to camp, and Beau begins making content and doing a house tour of the shelter. Not only do they have to survive, they also have to create content for the episode. And so I can imagine that could be very stressful depending on what you're focusing on and if you're super hungry or not. Later that day, not only does Dragon Sky get fire, but that night, Perry's figure 4 trap is activated and they get a rat to eat. And they feast on the rat the following day. Day 5, Jenna, Beau, and Pearson go looking for some marine life to eat, and they have some clams, chitin, which is a type of mollusk, fish, and sea urchin. Perry makes a broth using the leftover rat. Jenna doesn't feel well and begins losing her lunch, which is very unfortunate, but she manages to feel better after resting and getting some water, and she mentions how she probably had heat exhaustion. And then a wild storm appears and it begins to rain. That night, the rain puts out Dragon Sky and Perry's fire. Day 6, and Dragon Sky works on drying some tinder. Jenna checks the bedding of her team shelter and they need to change it out because it smells really bad. And the group is working, and Jenna, Beau, and Pearson's fire also went out, so they're working on getting the fire and remaking the bedding. And Pearson accidentally handles some vines that have a white milky sap and immediately goes to wash his hands, and a medic is called to check on him just in case. The medic says the sap didn't come from the blinding tree, and he sterilizes Pearson's hands and flushes his eye out with a saline solution just in case. Day 7, Dragon Sky and Perry go fishing, but Dragon Sky is worried about the water due to nearly drowning when she was younger. Jenna is still unable to get fire, and we see Pearson being pointed out to be very affected by the heat and the lack of fire. And Beau tries to start the fire, and that night it is super windy. Day 8, and Beau manages to get the fire, and his team is able to boil some fresh water to drink. Perry decides to go on a hike across the island and brings his really cool bamboo water bottle and mentions wanting to move to the other side of the island because it'll be a change in scenery and it'll be warmer and less windy on the other side of the island. Perry makes shoes out of salvaged material, and Beau and Pearson are out foraging and they happen to run into Perry. Oh my goodness, more people. And the 3 converse about their situations and head back to Perry's camp. After meeting Dragon Sky, Beau and Pearson take Perry and Dragon Sky back to their camp to see their shelter and meet Jenna. The group decides to merge at Jenna, Beau, and Pearson's camp. Later, they all have a feast of clams. Day 9, Pearson talks about a log that he found that could be used for the raft on extraction day on day 14. They decide to make a pontoon to help them get to the extraction point. Day 11, they all divvy up chores to help make the raft. Day 12, they test out the raft frame without the big log in the middle to see how buoyant it is. And then they want Dragon Sky to feel safe since she is afraid of the deep water. And then we are shown the survival kit segment, which is Beau talking about the size of blurs. After a commercial break, we see Jenna helping coach Dragon Sky about being in the water to help her face her fear, which I thought was a very nice gesture. Day 14, and the group makes a plan, put the rest of the raft together, and head out to raft 5 miles east to their extraction. And after some paddling and swimming, they all successfully make it to extraction. Hooray! Congrats to them. And I also noticed that there are no maps or fluctuating PSRs in this episode. And Beau's PSR goes from 6.3 to 7.1. Pearson's goes from 6.4 to 7.4. Jenna's goes from 6.2 to 7.0. Perry's goes from 6.5 to 7.6. And Dragon Sky's goes from 5.9 to 6.5. And I thought that was a good episode. I thought it was interesting the way that everything was edited because it was kind of content creators surviving, and they have to show them content creating, and they showed them surviving, and kind of finding the balance with that. People have been very split in their reactions online. A lot of people thought it was a really interesting concept. A lot of people did not think it was an interesting concept. And, don't send hate to any of the survivalists. They were tasked with content creating and surviving on an island for 14 days, so they had it really rough. And if you don't like the idea, just say, hey, Naked and Afraid, don't do this type of episode anymore. Just have maybe content creators surviving on the island and have the content creating kind of be an extra layer to their characters and maybe not have it be the whole thing. I thought it was interesting. I don't know if they'll do an episode similar like that again, but congratulations on the 5 survivalists for making it through this challenge. Next Sunday, we have Predatorland, an unlikely duo. A hairdresser and a former correctional officer must survive 14 days in Zambia, home to some of Africa's most dangerous wildlife. With predators all around and a herd of aggressive elephants closing in, their survival is threatened. And so I'm sure a lot of people will be happy because these are 2 new survivalists taking on a 14-day challenge. So it'll be interesting, but thank you all so much for listening. Please like, comment nice things, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you. Please don't send hate. Bye-bye.